Preface to the second edition. Much water, much of it dirty, has passed under the bridge since the first edition of Fasting Can Save Your Life came from the press. Many newspaper and magazine articles and several books on fasting have been published, presenting a wide variety of contradictory views and opinions that the reading public is hopelessly confused. The greater part of this mass of contradictory material has revolved around the propriety or impropriety of the use of the fast as a means of reducing weight. A large part of it has stressed the largely imaginary dangers of fasting. Much of it has emphasized the demand that any fast of more than 3 days' duration should be done under medical supervision, preferably in a hospital. Some of the books and articles have presented the reader with, quote, just as good, unquote, or better substitutes for the fast. There is also much disagreement about the proper conduct of a fast. When the experts disagree so widely, what is the poor reader to do? One, quote, scientific, unquote, experimenter adds greatly to the confusion by his use several times in the course of a short article of the phrase starvation therapy. Several of the men of science use the terms fasting and starvation synonymously, whereas the simple truth is that if one is fasting, one is not starving, and if one is starving, one is not fasting. The loose use of the terms fasting and starving as of identical meaning, and the implied assumption that the two processes are identical when this is not done with the deliberate intent of arousing prejudice, is a reliable index of the confusion in the mind of the writer. The phrases, quote, untoward side effects, unquote, and, quote, adverse reactions, unquote, appear so often in the writings of the scientific experimenters that when reading them, one easily gets the idea that one is reading about drugs. When a fast is entered and the faster abstains from tea, coffee, alcohol, soda, fountain slops, condiments, spices, mustard, food additives, and other irritating and stimulating substances which he is accustomed to taking both with his meals and between meals, he discontinues dosing himself at intervals with aspirin or other drugs. He experiences headache, dizziness, weakness, trembling, pains in the abdomen, back, and joints. He may faint, and he may nauseous and even vomit. He may be nauseous and even vomit. These, quote, withdrawal symptoms, unquote, are not, quote, side effects, unquote, of fasting, but are the extensions of the same symptoms with which he was annoyed while eating and which he smothered with frequent cigarettes, cups of coffees, Tums, or other popular drug desserts. That these so-called side effects of fasting are not caused by fasting, but by the habitual poisoning indulged in as a regular part of his daily life, is shown by the fact that if the fast is continued, the symptoms all clear up. Another cause of, quote, untoward side effects, unquote, is the practice of the scientific experiments of encouraging fasters to supply their need for fluid, water, by drinking tea, coffee, soda, fountain, slop, beer, wine, ale, and strained soups or broth. There are the additional practices of giving drugs to suppress every discomfort that may arise and of permitting the continuance of smoking or other drug taking. There is a great difference between a poisoned fast and an unpoisoned one. Not until the scientific men test the unpoisoned fast will they be in a position to properly evaluate the results of fasting. To put a very fat woman on a fast and continue it for over 300 days, all the while supplying her fluid needs with tea and coffee, both of them containing the heart irritant caffeine, and blaming the impairment of the heart upon the fast, not upon the caffeine, does not make good sense. Likewise, dosing the faster with liberal quantities of synthetic vitamins and drug store minerals ruinously affects the whole experiment. Altogether, too much emphasis has been placed upon the dangers of protein deficiency, thus creating a great fear of fasting. The evils of protein deficiencies conjured up out of the void have frightened great numbers of people. there is no danger of protein deficiency developing in a fast of ordinary duration. There is perhaps a possibility in a fast of 200 or 300 days or more, but the greatest danger in these extremely long fasts lies in the poisons taken as drink and as medicine. It will be difficult to fully assess the physiological wreckage that results from the repeated examinations and testing that constitute an important feature of the hospital supervision fast. The depressing effect of daily pulse counting, blood pressure taking, heart examination, blood and urine sampling, checking the temperature, and similar psychological disturbing factors is considerable. For best results, the faster needs calm, quiet, cheerful surroundings. The faster needs to relax and take life easy. Too much officious meddling is ruinous to poise. Poise is disturbed by the practice of keeping the thought always in the faster's mind that death is imminent. To add to the prevailing confusion, an effort is being made to revive the old enema practices. To this end, there has been a repetition of the old fallacies about reabsorption of waste from the colon. In all the discussions of this subject, I have never seen one reference to the fact that the faster's bowels act when there is no need for action. There may actually develop a diarrhea. Advocates of the enema warn of serious complications that may arise out of the auto-intoxications resulting from reabsorption of waste matter thrown into the colon. This is certain evidence that the man uttering the warning has never observed a fast in which no enema was used, else he would know how false his warnings are. Finally, there are those who contend that a period on fruit or fruit juice or vegetable juice produces the same or greater beneficial results than the fast. They call the period on fruit or juice a fruit fast or juice fast, whereas in sober reality, the period on fruit or on juice is more likely to be a fruit feast or a juice feast. For example, when on a grape diet, one is urged to eat large quantities of grapes. When on a carrot juice diet, one is urged to drink large quantities of carrot juice. The promoter of wheatgrass juice therapy is emphatic in her assertion that, quote, wheatgrass juice fast, unquote, is superior to absence from all food, or that they persist in designating a water fast, or what they persist in designating a water fast. This misuse of language is exceeded only by the physicians who use the phrase therapeutic starvation. The word starvation means the process of dying because of lack of some essential life, such as warmth, water, or food. The process of dying would seem to be a very poor therapeutic process. The juice diets have their legitimate places in the life of the hygienist. We would make a serious mistake, however, should we rule out the total fast and rely heavily upon juice diets. Fasting is a biological process and belongs to the world of life. Herbert Shelton, San Antonio, Texas, June 1978.